Hey friends, it's Asha. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm out on the patio, as you can kind of tell in the little sunroom that we have, and I'm going to be telling you about all the books that I read in September. So I've read about 9 books because I'm like halfway through my last one, which I will finish probably tonight, but I wanted to film this video. I think I have 4 paperbacks and then 5 on the Kindle because I'm reading like a series on the Kindle and then something else I read on the Kindle too. A couple other books that I just got for free. So I'm going to start with the first book that I read this month, which feels like such a long time ago. I don't know why. It literally just feels like such a long time ago. I love reading. I read all the time. If you've never seen me before, but I also make other videos, which is probably what I'm more known for. Compared to like reading, I guess nobody really watches the reading. Sometimes people don't watch the reading videos, but anyways, I still love to make them even if not that many people are watching them. So the first book that I read this month was People We Meet on Vacation. I have like synopsis in my notes that I did right after I read the book so I can actually remember what it's about. This one I read on paperback and I think it was okay. It wasn't my favorite, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I honestly feel like I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars at this point because I read so many other books that I rated 4 out of 5, which is like, that's a pretty high rating, you know? So I feel like this one wasn't my favorite ever, but I'll tell you what it's about. If you see me looking at my phone, that's because I'm just trying to read it off. So Poppy and Alex meet when they were young in college and they don't really have anything in common at first, and then on an unexpected car ride they realize that they fit together like 2 peas in a pod. They begin going on these summer trips together and they go different places. Even if they talk hardly all year, they still go on these little trips. Like they always know that they'll have the trips. And then something happened on one of the trips in Croatia, which they don't tell you for a long time, but they cannot get past this something that happened. So they don't really talk for about like 2 years, and then Poppy kind of surprises Alex by asking him to go on another summer trip, and they go on the trip and a bunch of different stuff happens. I thought it was an okay book. Definitely kind of moves slow, definitely predictable, like you know what's gonna happen by all of that because they're like best friends, so it's got like, you know, best friends to lover kind of trope, but that's what this book is. It is by Emily Henry. I know a lot of people like this. Maybe you will like this. I guess it was a good beach kind of book, but I heard that it was like amazing and I just didn't feel like it was the most amazing thing that I've ever read, so, but I didn't think it was bad. So anyways, the next book that I read, which was for my family book club, and I know you guys are gonna know this book. It is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I love Colleen Hoover, as does everybody else, but this book was really, really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It does have trigger warnings of sexual assault and domestic abuse, so make sure you kind of check more of the trigger warnings before you're comfortable, or make sure you're comfortable reading this book. So this book is about a girl named Lily, and after she comes out of her father's funeral, she meets this boy named Ryle in a kind of random setting on the roof of this like apartment building that Ryle lives in. And so they kind of just make this little pact to spit these naked truths at each other and just say things without caring what they're saying, and they have kind of like an odd connection at first. But Ryle doesn't do relationships, so he kind of tries to stay away from Lily, but quickly realizes that they have some mutual friends, which also kind of came out of nowhere, so he basically just cannot stay away. And then they develop a friendship which seems all sunshine and rainbows until we find out that Ryle is not so perfect, which I bet this was a heartbreaker for a lot of people. If you read this book, I know we were all rooting for Ryle at this moment in time, but then we just found out that he's, you know, kind of a terrible person. So while this happens, she's overwhelmed with the thoughts of her first love, Atlas. And Atlas was a homeless boy that she met when she was way younger, and she feels like they looked out for each other, and there was just all this stuff. She just has so much history with Atlas, and it all becomes very, very confusing when Atlas pops up all these years later in her new town, and then everything changes. So there is so much that goes on in this book, and it's so good. Something that I love about Colleen Hoover's books is that she always gets a good message out, even though it is, you know, contemporary romance and it's a fiction book, so it's not real. There is something that you always learn from it, and you're kind of learning it in a fun way. I think all women should read this at some point, because it teaches you some very important lessons about relationships and all this type of stuff. And I just really love this book. I always love her covers because they're so cute. But I just love this book, and I wish that they would make it a movie or something. That would be so cool. So many of her books deserve movies. But yeah, I really love that one. That was It Ends With Us, 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is One of Us Is Next, which is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying. And this was a super good, easy read. I think it took me 1 day to read maybe. Super good and easy. And there is a show coming out for One of Us Is Lying that comes out in October, I believe, so make sure you guys check that out because I bet it'll be so good. So this is basically a continuation. Sorry if you hear cars and stuff because I'm outside, obviously, but this is basically a continuation of the characters from One of Us Is Lying. So basically someone launches this super sick game of Truth or Dare where you're texted and get the option to take the dare or get some sort of truth revealed about you, like your biggest secret or whatever. And a couple of people choose not to take the dare because they're like, whatever, this is stupid. Then they get these secrets revealed and everyone's kind of scared of the game. And it's all fun and games until someone is killed from a, well, actually I can't say what it's from. But the mystery is why? Who is behind the game and who wanted revenge on this person that badly? Until you find out everything. And this is young adult, but it's so good and so juicy, and everything that happens, like even the first book, I just did not expect what happened to happen, and especially it's the same for this book. Everything is kind of crazy, but it was super good, easy read, totally recommend it. This is one of the books that you should read if you're just getting back into reading. So yeah, that was the next book that I read. And then after that, I read this book right here that's called Yes, No, Maybe So, which is also a young adult. I've had this book for a while and I didn't read it yet, and so I was like, okay, you know, I just should read it. Honestly, didn't even know what it was about, just kind of got it because the cover is really cute, and I got this a long time ago, like right when I first started getting back into reading. So I'm like, okay, I have to read it. It's by Becky L. Bertoli and Asha Said. So this book is kind of a political, it's kind of like a little bit political, so if you're not really into that, don't read it because it's just a little bit political, but it's also fiction and young adult, so it's not like crazy, but that's basically what it centers around. So Jamie and Maya have known each other since they were young, but they haven't spoken in years. So basically a new political campaign is starting soon, and they decided to kind of work together for canvassing. Maya joins for like a different reason than Jamie is. Jamie is just doing it. Jamie's the boy, by the way, and Maya's the girl. Jamie is just doing it because he like really believes in this political leader and he likes him and he's canvassing for him, and Maya's kind of doing it so she can maybe get a car or something, and she's just going through a lot of struggles in life and different life lessons, but they did it for different reasons, and it did cause them to grow closer together and learn about a lot about each other. And you know, it's kind of predictable, but it's a cute little romance, and yeah, I thought it was easy to read. It wasn't anything crazy. I think I would do 3.5 out of 5 stars for that one as well. But yeah, I guess it's not for everybody if you don't like political, because it was very political, and I don't know, it wasn't my favorite ever. Some things I just felt like I was skimming through, like, does this even matter? You know what I mean? Like, is this even relevant in the book? But okay, so those are all the paperbacks that I read, and then the rest of the books that I read were on my Kindle, which I have the Kindle Paperwhite. It's the green one, but I have this case on it, which is from Amazon, by the way. It just opens up and then wakes up your Kindle. So I'll tell you about the books that I read on the Kindle. Guys, I'm editing this right now, as you can tell, but I completely forgot to mention this book that I read on my Kindle, which was called Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. It was a super good book, and I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars, I think. It was amazing, and if you want to know more about it, you can like look up the synopsis on Goodreads or whatever, but yeah, I just didn't want to forget that. So, yeah. Okay, so the first book I'm about to tell you about on my Kindle that I read is called Archer's Voice. If I could recommend any book to you, Like, this would be my #1 book recommendation ever. Archer's Voice. It's so good. I would rate it 100 out of 5 stars, even though I could only give it 5 out of 5 stars. But it was literally just perfect. So I'm gonna read you my little synopsis. So, after going through something very traumatic and life-changing, Bree goes on a road trip to a little lake town in Maine. She meets some amazing people, and one of them is Archer. She runs into this Archer in town, but he doesn't talk to her. So she kind of goes around and asks people, who is this guy and why didn't he talk to me? Like, is he just rude? And then people kind of say that he doesn't talk, or he's deaf, or, you know, he's so distant and alone. Like, people were kind of just trying to turn her away from him, but she's so just drawn to him for some reason. So Archer not speaking is also not a problem for her, because her dad, who just passed away, that's kind of like the traumatic thing that happens, but it's traumatic because something crazy happened. But yeah, he was deaf, so she knows sign language from him, and so she knows how to speak sign language to Archer and stuff. And she kind of decides to go after him because she's so drawn to him, and eventually we find out why he can't speak, and it's not for any of the reasons that people had guessed. And then you find out just their like amazing story, and it's such a beautiful story, and I loved every single minute of it. It was literally perfect, like the perfect book. I loved it so much, and I would recommend it so hard for anyone who's looking for a really good book. So the next book that I read was called Serenading Heartbreak, which I rated a 4 out of 5 stars. So this book was okay. It wasn't the best ever, but it is a super quick and easy read. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it is also free on there. So at a young age, Stevie falls in love with her brother's best friend, Everett, and to make things worse, he's in a band with her, and he is like a broken soul. He's also an alcoholic who always leaves, but he loves Stevie so much that he's willing to change. Or is he? After leaving again, Stevie meets this boy named Aiden, and now she has to choose between her first and her second love. But things get a lot more complicated than just some love triangle. That's all I need to say, and all I can say without exposing too much of the book, because so much stuff happens in this book. It's a lot. It's definitely steamy. As is Archer's Voice, and it ends with Us. Those are all very steamy books, by the way, just to let you know. But yeah, this book, it was pretty good. It wasn't my all-time favorite, but it was good. It was easy read. I rated 4 out of 5 stars, so that's a good one to read. Anyways, next book I read is the first book of the Off-Campus series, which is called The Deal by L. Kennedy. I rated a 4 out of 5 stars, and I will kind of tell you what it's about. These are super easy books to read, and they're kind of just cute little love stories, so I think that they're fun to read if you're just looking for something kind of lighthearted and whatnot. But actually, this book does have a trigger warning of sexual assault, just to let you know, because I don't want to forget that before we get into it. So this book is about a girl named Hannah, and her heart is set on this super cute boy in her class whose name is Justin, but the only problem is that he's popular and she's not popular at all. So she basically doesn't really have much of a chance with him because he never really notices her. But luckily for her, Garrett Graham, this super popular and hot college hockey player, is in need of a tutor after finding out that she aced the test for this class that he is failing in. So basically, yeah, he kind of reaches out to her because he needs help with this class, and he's a hockey player, so he has to have good grades, or there's like a policy that he can't play in his games. So he has to have these good grades in order to play, so he needs to do good on this test. So he kind of makes a deal with her in order to get her crush's attention. He pretends to be dating her so she'll be more popular and this boy will notice her. So basically, this deal was really working until she started to lose sight of who she really wanted, and Garrett made sure she wasn't looking at anyone else. So you kind of get the dealio of what's going on. This book is also very steamy, and so is every book so far in the series. I'm on the 3rd one right now. So with that being said, the second one that I read was The Mistake. So Logan, okay, so basically you have to read the first. If you didn't read the first one, then I wouldn't watch this because it kind of just exposes what happened in the first one. So just like skip to the end of the video or something. Okay, so basically Logan is Garrett Graham's best friend, but he has a little problem. He kind of thinks that he's in love with Garrett's girlfriend, Hannah. Soon he kind of figures out that that's not the actual thing that's going on with him, but he's kind of more used to mindless hookups and like getting so drunk that he doesn't even remember who he just, you know, slept with and everything. So that's how he is until he comes across this girl whose name is Grace. Grace is an innocent freshman who at first is kind of used as a distraction without Logan really knowing. He's kind of basically using her as like a distraction a little bit to his situation until he finds out this real reason that he's been longing, and it becomes way more than that. So I really like this one too. Again, super quick and easy, and right now I am on the 3rd book of that series, which I don't even know what it's called, but I'm sure if you googled it, it would tell you, which is 2 of their other friends and then their like little thing, which I'm sure that they'll fall in love too, but I like it so far. It's really easy to read and it's like fun and gets you hooked and everything, so I definitely recommend that if you're looking for something to read. But that is all of that I read this month in September. I'm kind of hoping to read a little bit more in the next couple of months, and I can't believe that it's October already. It's officially spooky season, so happy spooky season, everybody. I hope that you guys have a great day, and I love you so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Sorry this video was kind of in a weird spot and everything, but I didn't really feel like filming in a normal spot and getting all cute and stuff. So that's what I read in September. Bye.